1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Om Jnanatamrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We are reading again this evening, continuing our cover-to-cover reading of Sri Guru and His Grace by Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. Today's chapter is chapter 7, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chapter 8, entitled Separation from Sri Guru. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada advised his senior disciples that if the need arose to consult higher spiritual authority after his disappearance, his senior godbrother, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, should be consulted. On more than one occasion, he said, "I consider Srila Sridhar Maharaj to be my Shiksha Guru, instructing spiritual master. So what to speak of the benefit that others can have from his association?" Just after his disappearance, his senior disciples approached Srila Sridhar Maharaj and asked his advice on how to guide the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The following is an excerpt of their conversations, Devotee, after the departure of our beloved spiritual master, we have come here to offer our respects to you, as well as to hear your highly esteemed advice on certain matters, if you'd be kind enough. Srila Sridhar Maharaj. The disappearance of the spiritual master is mentioned in the Shastra with an example. The disciple is like a lotus. The spiritual master is like water around the lotus, just as in a pond or lake. Your Gurudev's position is like water, and Krishna is like the sun. As long as the lotus is floating on the water, the sun will nourish the lotus. But if the water vanishes, that very sun will burn the lotus. Without water, the Krishna sun will burn the lotus. Without the help of the Guru, the disciple is nowhere. Without Guru, all is void. Raghunath Das Goswami has said, "In the absence of my Gurudev, Govardhan Hill, the representation of Krishna himself, seems to me just like a big python coming to devour me. And Radhakund, the holiest place of divinity in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, seems like a tiger's mouth coming to devour me. They are giving me so much excitement in the absence of my Gurudev, my dearest and highest spiritual guardian." Excitement, I think, when used by Guru Maharaj, means more sort of disturbance or disturbance of mind, rather than a positive type of stimulation. My Gurudev, who has the most intense affection for me, is not here. How can it be? Everything is void. All has vanished with his departure. Such a deep sense of separation will come in the heart of a sincere disciple. Once, one of your devotees said in his lecture that separation is the highest realization. I was very happy to hear from his lips that separation, vipralamba, is the highest attainment. Without separation, nothing else can come to us. The anticipation of meeting Krishna will appear to us as vipralamba. So vipralamba is the most auspicious thing pertaining to Krishna consciousness. And we can have Krishna's connection also in that separation. So the safest and most fearless position is vipralamba. If we can stand firm and retain the memory of Gurudev in his separation, then we will have passed the highest test. Devotee. In our spiritual master's lifetime, he was seen as the absolute authority above all, including our governing body commission. How should we understand the position of the new spiritual masters and their relationships with their godbrothers and disciples? Srila Sridhar Maharaj. The position of the Acharya with his disciples must be absolute. With his disciples, he would have absolute authority. Still, he must be careful not to become mad with authority. Authority is part of pratishta, name and fame. There is also another tendency. When a guru comes in connection with vatsalya ras, the mood of guardianship over his disciples, his friendly relationship with the god brothers decreases. Some special discrimination arises, and stealthily he is drawn to his disciples, indifferently neglecting his connection with his god brothers. This tendency is sure to come, and it is difficult to keep up the balance. So the brothers are neglected and the sons get more attention. In this way, the guru becomes partial. When he comes in close connection with his disciples, he has more freedom. He has freedom. He is given an opportunity of absolute mastership. In that position, it is very difficult to keep up his purity because of that temptation. There is the possibility of going down from the plane of acharya. Guru is all in all. Autocracy and democracy do not go well together. Our system is autocratic. Guru is all in all. Our submission to Guru is unconditional. If a disciple sees that his Guru's powers are being restricted by other Vaishnavas, it will create a great disturbance in his mind, a disturbance to his absolute faith in his Guru. This is where the Krishna conception of Godhead comes to our relief. He whom we think is the supreme most, Krishna, Yasoda is whipping him. He is carrying Nanda's shoes on his head. But he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this way, we can adjust everything. Both the absolute faith and the relative position of the non-absolute. These two things should be harmonized. The Guru should be recognized by impartial judgment. Everyone thinks that his own mother is the most affectionate. But when a comparison is drawn between two mothers to see who is more affectionate, an impartial criterion will be applied. This is called tatashta vichar, an impartial comparison of relative and absolute considerations. When the two are weighed, the absolute calculation will always have the greater value. The position of acharya is very intricate. It is very difficult to bring an acharya under rule. You see, that is our practical experience. You please hear and note this. The position of acharya is a relative thing, and the position of the disciple is also relative. Just like the relationship between mother and child, father and son, wife and husband. Although to his god brothers, a guru will be seen in a relative position to his disciple, the guru is absolute. So to adjust between the relative and absolute is a difficult thing. It is an eternal problem. Even in Krishna Leela, there is enmity between Madhura Ras and Vatsalya Ras. But when the absolute consideration comes, both rases must be included within the fold. Guru, more than God. To a disciple, his Guru's position is supreme, even more than God. This is said in the scriptures. The Guru is more near and dear to us than God himself. God has many things to deal with, but Guru is concerned only with my welfare. The Guru's position is more helpful to the disciple than God. If within your society you want a natural growth of the disciple's regard for the Guru and the absolute truth, such room must be allowed in your constitution, if the constitution is to live at all. Law is not everything. The law of your society should be accommodating to nurture divine sentiment. Otherwise, it is no law. Law should promote faith. Shastra's jurisdiction is limited. It is meant only to promote love, and when love comes, it will be free, smooth, harmonious working. Free. It will be free. Smooth, harmonious working is possible only in the area of love. Srila Rupa Goswami says that Vaidhi Bhakti, devotion under the guidance of Shastra, or laws and rules, is helpful only to a certain extent. It will help the inner awakening of love and affection, and then retire. Law will retire, giving room to the spontaneous flow of love. law is necessary, especially in the lower stages, but it should make room for free movement in the relationship. Freedom is the highest thing. Free service is ragamarg, and that is service proper, not service that is regulated and coerced and pressed by law. That is not service. Our aim is Vrindavan, so we want free service. Without freedom, service is not valuable. Forced labor is no labor. A labor of love is required. And that is the thing for which we are all out. Let us essentially think that we are all out not only for the Constitution, but for the thing for which the Constitution has been made. And we are out for that high object of life, divine love. The Constitution should promote that aim. With this feeling, we should go on. Newcomers are coming with their faith, and their faith should be encouraged and also adjusted, so that the faith of one person may not disturb another. Messiahs of free faith. No law should go to limit or control the Acharya, for then the Shraddha of the disciple will vanish, and all will be a mechanized machine. Rather, the whole thing will be reduced to matter. We are the Messiahs of developing free internal faith in the Lord, faith that is to be nurtured. That sort of creeper should be planted in the garden of the heart and watered and nourished. The very characteristic of faith must not be lost by infringement, by overpressure of the laws and the rules. The free flow of the heart must be kept. The movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is more of heart than of intellect. We should always consider this. The intellect must not check the free flow of the heart. We must always remember that. Free love and free faith are the only things, the most valuable things for which we have come out of our own house and joined the mission. This purity of purpose should always be kept intact. Otherwise, some help from law and regulation is... Of course, some help from law and regulation is necessary, but not so much as to check the growth of our vitality. We must promote vitality. The real spirit, the real purpose of the mission should be given first hand, and lenient dealings are necessary amongst you. It is said, if the tongue is cut by the tooth, should I pull out the tooth? You are one organic whole. Your dealings should be such that the forgiveness of love should not be such that the forgiveness of love is forgotten. The giving of love will conquer more than the giving of law. What is the need of so much formality and fashion when ultimately we are all servants of the Lord? That is a brilliant statement of Guru Maharaj. What is the need of so much formality and fashion when ultimately we are all servants of the Lord? If that can be taken to heart, then it kind of does away with any sense of pratishta based on one's, very temporary position in this world, or, one's perception of themselves and their qualities and whatever that engenders in terms of ego. And ultimately, we're all in the same boat as servants of the Lord. We're all here to help each other in some way, and that is service. What is the need for any kind of act or too much formality? It's going to stifle and ruin the process. Guru Maharaj says he's a form breaker, which it's essentially saying he's the ultimate realist or pragmatist, a person who cuts away all of the superfluous nonsense that gets in the way of a clear perspective and presents that pure, that clean perspective, not only intellectually, philosophically, but also in a very real sense, as in transmitting that through the parampara, through Gurudev. So not only is there an intellectual comprehension, but there's also the possibility of actual realization if one is prepared to apply the process. And this is perfect advice for the young men that, and they were quite young at the time, American men that succeeded Srila Prabhupada. And I believe the oldest one was 40 years old, younger than myself when I think about it. And they'd been in contact with Krishna consciousness for some 11 years maximum, at the very most, 11 years. Two of them joined in 66, so it's 11 years, the oldest ones. Kirtanananda was the oldest. So he was 40, the youngest was something like 28, just a child, in the position of acharya. And so they had gone across. I've actually seen this chapter when I read the first paragraph here. I recognized it from a transcript of the original recording that I've seen. And the devotee who speaks the first paragraph here is Jayapataka Swami, actually. He uses the word upadesh when it's translated here as advice, with your highly esteemed advice on certain matters. So he had learned a bit of Bengali by that time, so he used the term upadesh. Jai. And these particularly this chapter, or most definitely this chapter, is a direct instruction to those young devotees that were charged with such a big responsibility, and Guru Maharaj was helping them. And such practical and loving advice, talking about really the premise on which they should conduct their service as gurus and move forward and expand the mission and be successful in their service roles as guru, being elucidated in such a beautiful way, talking about love and the free flow of love and the development of faith and the necessity of, or the risk of too much emphasis on the rule of law, on Vaidhi Bhakti, and how that can actually stunt the growth of devotees in a society. Too much imposition of law and structure at the expense of actual spirit, development of the heart. And unfortunately, the advice wasn't always implemented. But there's a big story surrounding that. Do you want to add anything?
Oh, only that's one of my favorite passages of all time of Srila Sri Maharaj's. Such important advice. So he highlights the sweetness and the charm of what this movement is about. It's and so many problems in the mission they think can be solved through application of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such valuable advice for us.
I think it is very necessary, or at least desirable, for devotees to regularly, or put aside just a little bit of time every day to try and read Gurudev and Guru Maharaj's words, even if it's just a few minutes. Even if you make a commitment just to open a book and read a paragraph, then there will be a likelihood of reading a bit more, reading for 15 minutes or half an hour. And to be reminded to connect again with the conception that is being generated, or that this mat is all about.
Right.
And Guru Maharaj himself was a practicer, or implemented such a procedure. When ever there was a Vaishnav gathering, he would, and I think Gurudev is recounting this, he would request Gurudev to sing, or request a couple of songs to be sung, Ki Jani Ki Boli and Emana Dumarti, and songs of like, what is it that has brought me here? What is it really that this is all about? So sometimes people can originally forget what, or the original motive and the inspiration behind something can be lost over time, and a person can be bogged down, depressed, taken off track, and by moving along on a tangent and being caught up in perhaps day-to-day issues or political issues or any kind of issue that social interaction with other human beings can create, being part of a society can create. And to reflect and reconnect with the words of Gurudev and Guru Maharaj, refresh one's feeling and inspiration and purpose and reasoning behind the involvement. And at least for me, I find that it's very important.
For all of us.
And that reconnection with the core inspiration, the very reason, the premise that for which we came, enables one to have more of an objective and less tainted vision, or a more objective vision, and be less tainted and affected by the disturbances that will always occur on the surface of a social group of people. Where was I? The Acharya faces two dangers. The first is partiality. Partiality means full freedom with his disciples. This relationship is also more attractive to him. The second danger is deviation. So deviation and partiality, these two things can take down the Acharya. These are the two enemies of an Acharya, and one who takes that position must be particularly careful about these things. The position of an Acharya is dangerous. It is full of temptations. Therefore, a strong, sincere, indomitable desire for the upper aspirations of Krishna consciousness is the indispensable necessity in an Acharya. Otherwise, he can't maintain his position. He will go down. He has become master and will think, I am the master of all I survey. In a particular circle, he is monarch, and monarchy can bring madness. That is a great temptation. If one is not sufficiently conscious of this fact, he will not be able to maintain his position. For one who has monarchy over men and money, it is very difficult to maintain a position of servitor. The ego of mastership, which is generally found within all of us, comes to attack the Guru. After all, we are wandering in the land of exploitation. Therefore, we should be very wakeful and scrutinizing in our self-analysis. The general symptom of health is that the more one will go up, the more one will think, I am going down. This indirect method of measurement may be applied to measure our internal advancement. Externally, one may maintain a superior position, but internally, he should always be thinking, oh my Lord, I am in want. Give more grace to me. I can't maintain my position. Again, absolutely perfect advice, and we can say, without the enhancement of retrospection or anything like that. You've got to assume anyway that Guru Maharaj's advice is perfect. But we can look back still and see how appropriate this advice was. And, unfortunately, how prescient it was as well.
How what, son?
Prescient.
What does that mean?
It means predictive of the future. Yeah. He knew exactly what they needed spiritually. They didn't know so much, I don't think. Or they weren't able to apply it totally. Money, woman, and fame. It is a great misfortune if a Vaishnava Guru strays from the line. It is rare, but occasionally it may be found. Generally, the symptoms of deviation fall into three classes. Kanak, Kamani and Pratishta. Money, woman and reputation. First, the Guru loses his attraction for his own Guru and Shastra Upadesh, the advice of the Shastra. Then what he previously expressed, quoting the scriptures and the words of his Guru, gradually becomes absent in him. His attraction for the higher thing fades. That is Pratishta, prestige. Kanak, Kamani, Pratishta, money, woman, and name and fame. These are the three tests. These are the three tests to be put everywhere to see whether one is a sadhu or not, or what degree of sadhu he is. The first thing is deviation from his higher gurus. That should be detected. That is pratishta, pride. Then he will show more tendency to amass money and not to spend it. Money may be collected, but that must be distributed for the service of the sampradaya, for the service of the Vaishnavas. But amassing money, this is the second sign of deviation. The third is attraction towards the ladies. Of course, he may come in connection with money and women, and also with the honor from his disciples. That is also necessary, but only for the purpose of the divine object, divine aim, not for himself. But if we can detect that he is utilizing all these things for his personal interest and not for the cause of the sampradaya, then we should be careful. And unfortunately, that is exactly what happened with some people that were directly in this audience. By the way, that I remember the date on that document was Gorpanim, or the circa date was Gorpanim 1978. So it was just the first Gorpanim after Srila Prabhupada's departure. And was the initial, I believe, the initial formal contact between ISKCON's leadership and Srila Guru Maharaj in terms of following Prabhupada's instruction to seek advice and guidance from Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And, of course, some rejection of Guru Maharaj took place later, and what is being cautioned about here, that exactly that took place. Exactly. Almost like, as you could say, if this is a medical textbook and it's describing the symptoms of a disease, then that was played out textbook in what unfortunately transpired with some of these gurus. In the beginning, we may neglect some occasional problems. Some instances of these kinds of deviations may be ignored, but if we find that they are becoming more prevalent, then we must inspect the situation carefully. And if we are to bring it to persons, and we are to bring it to persons similar to my position, and after consultation, we can take the matter to higher sources and consult other acharyas who are reliable. When we find that what appeared to us first in a small way is real, injurious, and of a big magnitude, and that our spiritual master is going down, then we must act to save ourselves. We must try to take steps which may save us from that epidemic contamination. We must try to save ourselves. And we must also try to save others who might fall prey to the same exploitation as us. That must be done in all sincerity. There is the possibility. It is mentioned in the Shastras, and so many practical examples are also there. So we must not make progress in a slumber, but we must go forward with our eyes always opened. Abandoning bogus gurus. Devotee, if the initiating spiritual master falls down from the path, what should the disciple do? Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he may take shelter of the holy name of Krishna again and wait for some time. If the Guru was at first a sincere disciple of his spiritual master, and now as a result of some offences he is being neglected by his Guru, he may be led astray for some time, but he may return to the standard again. Still, it is said in the Mahabharata, Udyoga Parva 17925, Gurur apyavalit tasya karya karyam ajanata utpata pratipanasya parityago vidhiyate. A guru who does not know what is to be done and what is not to be done, and who has left the path of devotional service, should be abandoned. This is found in Bhishma's statement in the Mahabharata. Bhishma is one of the 12 Mahajans, and this is his statement to his Astra Guru Parashuram. Jiva Goswami says that if the Guru goes astray, he should be abandoned, but there may be circumstances where, by the inconceivable mercy, by the inconceivable desire of Krishna, the Guru may go astray for a time and then come back again. In that case, the disciple should wait for some time. It is very unfortunate for the disciple when such things happen. You will find this elaborately dealt with in the Harinam Chintamani of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. If a son leaves home and disobeys his father, the father may be indifferent to him. He may exclude him from the will. If, however, the son returns after some time and is again obedient, then he may collect his inheritance. In a similar way, a spiritual master may disobey his guru, and then his guru may be indifferent to him for some time. But again, if he sets himself right, he will not be disinherited. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Apichet sudaracharo. So we should not deal very abruptly with these unfortunate incidents. Just we should wait and see. Everything must be done judiciously. Gurudev liked that as well, right? Wait and see. That was one of Gurudev's more famous mottos.
Yeah.
There was also, perhaps quoted by Gurudev, I know it's Madhusudan Maharaj likes to quote it sometimes, so perhaps it originated with Gurudev, that after in the Ramayana when Ravana was defeated, he was actually in the process of dying, and in a conciliatory kind of gesture, Ram asked him, "Do you have any advice for us?" Like, Ravan was a great figure and wise in his own way, although demonic. Is a wise, certain amount of wisdom. And Ravan, so they asked him for some advice, and he said one piece of advice was, if there's any kind of unpleasant action that you need to take, then try and put it off, try and delay it for as long as possible. But if there is a desirable, progressive act that you want to commit, then do that as soon as possible. Do it immediately. You don't have to wait for an auspicious time. In trying to understand the relationships between Guru and Godbrother and Guru and disciple, we will find very subtle points of sentiment. Just as when Krishna entered into the arena of Kamsa, he appeared differently to different persons. The disciples will have one view of their Guru, as Godbrothers will have another view and disposition. The disciple of a genuine Guru will be seen by their Guru as being with Krishna, but that may not be seen by his Godbrothers. In Madhura Ras, Krishna is seen in one way, and in Vatsalya Ras, Mother Yasoda sees him in another way. The servants see him in another way. The rishis, like Gargamuni, will see him in another way. And Krishna, as Krishna likes to show himself, he will be seen. You may see the Guru in your own way, but still, you'll have to behave in such a way that the newcomer's faith will not be disturbed. The newcomers should always be encouraged, because it is very difficult for a fallen soul to collect his faith and regard and offer it to the Guru. It should be our concern that they collect their maximum regard and offer it to the Guru. On the other hand, I may have my own conception about my Godbrother. I may foster that within my heart. as much as possible, I should try not to disturb his disciples. If, unfortunately, an acharya falls and proves himself to be lacking in that capacity, then if that comes to a sufficient degree, some steps may be taken and we may have to take some unhappy action. But let God save us from that disastrous condition. That should be our feeling. Otherwise, as long as possible, the rank should be respected. Both the relative and absolute consideration go side by side. The disciples should be encouraged by the relative consideration mostly, and the godbrothers will have more feel for the absolute consideration. But still, they shouldn't disturb the newcomers in their premier position.
Wait, I'm a little confused about that last sentence. You said that the godbrothers will have more concern with the absolute side, or is it the other way around?
Yeah. The disciples should be encouraged by the relative consideration mostly, and the godbrothers will have more feel.
Wait, relative in what sense? Maybe I'm lost.
Yeah, so relative in the sense that they see the Guru as all in all, right? As absolute.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is their relative vision that their Guru is absolute.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I'm getting confused. It gets very confusing.
Yeah. Am I reading it a bit too fast? No.
No,
Okay.
it's just my brain's moving a little slow.
Okay,
Yeah.
Today, yeah.
Yeah, no, because I was
Okay.
thinking relative in the sense of like seeing their human side.
Oh, okay.
But this is they're appreciating the relative perspective that their Guru is absolute.
Yeah.
And the godbrothers are appreciating the broader absolute perspective that their godbrother has a relative position.
I think your brain is working too fast. It's seeing different shades of interpretation. Even if you think that the person is performing the function of acharya, even if you think that the person performing the function of acharya is lower in qualification, adhikar, than you, still you should formally give some special honor to him because he is in that position. The son may be the judge and the father may be the lawyer, but the father must give respect to the son. He must give respect to the chair. So that kind of adjustment should be kept in the mission. When you are alone, the acharya brother and his non-acharya brother can mix freely. You can give a slap to his face. But when publicly amongst his disciples, you must show that sort of behavior. Respectful conduct should be publicly maintained to keep up the peace of the mission. Vyas may not know. Devotee, although the disciple should regard the Guru as absolute and of the highest level of spiritual attainment, how should the Guru view his own position? Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Sridhar Swami wrote a commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. It was a little different from the previous commentaries, so the scholars, especially the Shankarites, refused to accept that commentary as universal. They put it to the test. They left the commentary in the temple of Vishwanath, Lord Shiva, and agreed that if he accepted the commentary, they would all accept. Then, from the Shiva temple, this verse was revealed. Aham vedmi shuko veti, vyaso veti na veti va. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 24, 314. The real purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam is very difficult to conceive, Lord Shiva says. I know the true purpose of Bhagavatam. Sukadev, the son and disciple of Vyasadeva, knows it thoroughly. And the author of the Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva, may or may not know the meaning. When teaching Sanatan Goswami, Mahaprabhu said, Sanatan, Krishna is going to give his kindness to you through me. I am talking to you like a madman. I feel many things are passing through me, but I do not know that I myself have that thing. It is possible, it is wonderful, but still we find it there. It is not unreasonable, although it is not understandable. You see, when the Second World War broke out in Dalhousie Square in Kolkata, there was a popular government poster. A military uniform was painted on the wall, and beneath it was a saying, "Just wear this uniform, and the uniform will show you what you must do." So when a sincere man has taken a particular charge, he will somehow find out what are the duties of his post. He is sincere, and God will help. God helps those who help themselves. You have taken the charge, and that charge has come only as a chance, but there is some underground link. Then if you try to go on, help will come to you. He is not a cheat. You have sincerely taken this responsibility as given to you by your master, and the master is not a cheat. He will come to help you with all his might, saying, "Do this, I'm helping, I'm at your back." When we are all sincere, things will happen like this. That's the end of the chapter. Very wonderful chapter.
Yeah.
Very wonderful book. Very wonderful chapter and a very wonderful book. Again, finishing with sincerity, as we were talking about the other day, the need for sincerity, or the absolute indispensability of sincerity, and how everything flows from sincerity. Everything falls into place once that pure sincerity has been established. I am at your back. He's giving them encouragement. Like, it's a perfect chapter.
Yeah.
Telling them the premise upon which acharyaship is founded. Ultimately, it's a transaction of love, and that it's not to be governed too much by restrictive laws and regulations. Excessive formality will stifle the spirit. And then be careful of kanak, kamini, and pratishta. These things can take you down. Be very careful. And then a confidence booster. Don't worry, if you're sincere, you can do it, you can make it. This can be achieved.
We were remembering the other day, Yudamanyu, he told me on one occasion, he was in China, right? And it was a very heavy duty to be preaching there alone and at personal risk in Red China. And there was one occasion he was speaking with Srila Gurudev on the phone from China and expressing, this feeling of helplessness that he was having. And Gurudev told him, "Never feel that you are alone. I am with you, Guru Maharaj is with you, Swami Maharaj is with you."
Mm.
Many things Gurudev said. He also made that expression to Anjali when she was very sick in hospital. "I am at your back, I am at your front, I am at your side." Like that. He, very much, in a very personal way, he expressed this mood that Srila Maharaj is describing.
Mm.
That, I am with you.
And sometimes there's a tendency to take these words a little flippantly. That, all gurus say that, but it is a real statement. It's not a topic that Gurudev dealt with casually, without proper regard. And when you actually think about that, it's very reassuring. For a sincere follower, Gurudev is there. It's so nice.
There was one time when he went to Russia, and when he arrived, and maybe it was his first talk, or one of his first talks, he said, "I am always with you, and to prove it, I have come here."
The statement, I like the statement as well, just wear the uniform and the uniform will show you what you must do. There's a lot of import in that statement. different levels of understanding, I'd imagine, as well, with that statement.
Yeah, we can take it in a broader sense.
Mm. Krishna will supply, Gurudev will supply what's necessary.
There's another line in Srila Maharaj. I'm not sure if it was in that chapter. I think it might be somewhere else in Srila Grace, where he says that one's present capacity will not be so much considered as one's purity of heart. Like through that pure intention, then all that is required, whatever capacity or resources, they will all be extended. So that's what our guardians are looking for, that sincerity of heart, not what you can do or what you know, but how pure is your heart, how sincere is your intention. And whatever is deficient, they can supply it. That's a secondary thing. Very encouraging.
Yes. So optimistic, because it doesn't require, there's no material prerequisite.
Yes.
There's nothing that has to be achieved first.
Yeah.
And Gurudev says you don't have to be a man of action or a man of intellect in order to be a devotee. It doesn't come under the relativity of any material criterion.
Yeah.
It's free, and it's, in that sense, it's apratihata, right? Unstoppable. It's very nice. What else?
I think that's wonderful food for thought.
Yes. And also Guru Maharaj says somewhere that in connection with this saying, just wear the uniform and the uniform will show you what you must do, that for a sincere devotee there is a platform that's reached where the answers to any questions, they come automatically. They're revealed automatically to the devotee, which is very lovely, because sometimes people have doubts or questions, and so that revelation, there's a level of faith and sincerity that's reached, where that revelation occurs internally via the Chaitya Guru.
There's that famous verse in the Upanishads, Yasya deve bhaktir tata deve tata tasyati patita yata prakashante mahatma. Remember that verse? Saying that one who has unflinching faith in Guru as they have in the Lord, all the purports of the scripture will be revealed to them. That was something Gurudev really emphasized. Giving your attention to your service connection. And through that, all revelation will come.
Awesome. We can finish that. Jai Shri Bhakti Rakshak Sri Dhadev Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Shri Gurudev ki jai.